Hello, classmates and professor. I hope everyone's having an amazing day. I am Ernest Christian, and today we will be exploring the film theory of ideology through the films MegaMind and Despicable Me, as well as the accompanying concepts of power and identity, and how people and characters are treated as a result. We will also explore the real world consequences of releasing a twin film and how it can ruin a film franchise's performance before it can truly even get off the ground. And with that short introduction out the way, let's get started with the meat and potatoes of our video essay. MegaMind, a 2010 film made by DreamWorks about an extraterrestrial, blue-skinned humanoid individual who, through being raised in a literal prison and consistently put down by his peers for a seemingly more impressive Metro Man, was turned into an evil genius. Now, as an 8-year-old child, I actually didn't really care for this movie much, but looking back on it now, it is a submersive masterpiece, without question. It has like really awesome character designs, even though they kind of look like parodies of well-known characters like Superman, and it actually has decent world building for a movie that's less than 2 hours, and it even still has quotes that are relevant today.
And I love you, random citizen.
But it fell flat due to another film that came out earlier in that same exact year, with a very similar premise, and it included a very despicable villain. This film was Despicable Me. Now, Despicable Me is another 2010 film made by Universal Studios about Dr. Heinz Doof Gru, a supervillain turned caretaker and father to 3 orphan girls out of the need to get information out of his rival Vector. This man is a very successful supervillain who starts out to be outdone by his younger rival. So he has to do more despicable things while also balancing his relationship with the girls. Now, this movie was great, don't get me wrong, and despite how little kids may feel about those walking bananas called minions, I don't think this movie is better than Megamind. And before you raise your pitchforks and say no film is better than the other, I have to say I agree with you. I just believe Megamind handles the topic of ideology in film better, and I can hear you asking now, then why did Despicable Me perform better in cinema, and even get 2 sequels and a prequel spinoff? Well, that leads us back to one of our earlier covered concepts in the semester, as well as another concept mentioned in the video essay's introduction. I'm of course referring to cinema of attraction and twin films. As mentioned before, in 2010, both films were released, making them fall under the subcategory of twin films. For those who don't know, twin films are films that are released with the same or very similar plots, produced or released around the same time, but by 2 different studios. Despicable Me was released July 9th in the summer of 2010. That's almost an entire 4.5 months before Megamind, which was released October 30th in the same year. This gave Despicable Me a huge advantage because it gave it an air of originality that the public later felt that Megamind lacked because of its similar plot points of the main villain becoming a hero for the greater good. Now, the phenomenon of twin films is a lot more common than most people may think. For example, people see Marvel and DC movies as usually something very similar, and you'll never see those 2 movies come out around the same time because it forces less informed viewers to choose or assume that one is a ripoff of the other. As we see that's how people discuss Megamind and Despicable Me, as twin films or as one being a ripoff of the other. Now, another big point is marketability. Marketability is also very important to the success of any type of media. After all, if you look at the highest grossing media franchises in the world right now, they would include things like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. These franchises literally feed off our nostalgia and our natural attraction to cute yet powerful animals, as well as our need to always improve ourselves, making them easy for all ages to relate to. Now, take that concept and relate it to our topic films of Megamind and Despicable Me.
I got him!
Megamind had little to no marketability. I mean, what kid's gonna want to choose a skinny blue man in a spandex jumpsuit over a cute, adorable walking banana kid that speaks a whole bunch of gibberish? Yeah, it's not really even a competition. Despicable Me had a way more digestible image to the public eye than Megamind ever did. And it even had an original song by Pharrell Williams called Happy that blew up its marketing campaign for this movie. And even more, but The ideology of the characters is what really made both of these films very interesting to the public eye. MegaMind, who is the main character of the movie MegaMind, is somewhat of a man-child. He consistently overreacts in cartoony ways when he doesn't get his way, fitting the bill of the classic Saturday morning cartoon villain, just like the character he's based off of, Lex Luthor. He is consistently making plans he knows will fail, just so that Metro Man will show up and beat him and send him back to jail. Spoiler warning for anybody that hasn't seen MegaMind yet. We good? Okay. But after MegaMind defeats Metro Man, geez, I'm really tired of saying man, he celebrates for a short period of time before becoming extremely depressed and attempting to make a new hero for himself to fight.
You.
He sees being a supervillain as an acting role of some sort. He has to play just so society will kind of treat him like he's even an active member. He's always been treated like a villain, so he acts as such. He was consistently put down at any attempt of trying to blend into society and improve himself as a child, and everyone demonized anything that he did. He was treated like an outcast. But through meeting and dating Roxanne, although through very dishonest means, he got his first true opportunity to show who he can be as a hero when he fought against Titan at the movie's climax.
Say bye-bye, Roxy.
Hello.
With that being said, his ideology isn't the clearest, but Mega Man was written again with the character Lex Luthor in thought. The author literally states that the movie's whole concept is, what if Lex Luthor killed Superman and didn't know what to do with himself? So from what I gathered from watching the movie about 700 times, his ideology is mostly Roxanne's ideology. His ideology changes over the span of the movie, as he's mostly just a misguided soul who doesn't know what to do with himself besides use his talents for what everybody told him that he was, evil. But Roxanne, being one of the first good examples in his life, started to guide him down a more positive path. This leads us to our next character analysis, Gru. Gru, who is the main character of the movie Despicable Me, is a mostly non-violent character in his movie, mostly because that's not what Universal was going for with the villainous character, and they can't really market off a friendly character that kills people or attacks people. Now, since he's mostly non-violent, they had to find another way to make him very villainous. So what Gru mostly does is he steals landmarks by shrinking them down. And he competes with other villains that do something similar, that steal or that destroy things for little to no reason. So in this movie, his main goal is to get the top spot of best villain until he meets the girls that he needs to complete his final plan. See, his plan in the original was to use the girls to infiltrate his enemy Victor's lab, but he wanted to mostly just steal his technology. But he spent some time with the girls, and eventually Gru starts to realize he doesn't care about the top spot anymore. He really wants to care about the relationship with the girls and be a father figure to them. But after the girls get captured trying to reenact his plan, eventually he has to go toe-to-toe with Victor, and he defeats him, saving the girls. See, similarly to the ideology of Mega Man, Gru's villainous ideology was changed by meeting someone very special in his life. However, Gru was evil because that's something that gave him seemingly what us as the audience would see as joy, but in reality, it was something similar to Megamind, because it was because of his childhood with his mother that he became evil and wanted to become more independent. So these characters are a lot more similar than most people would see at the surface level. So for Megamind, it was more based off revenge, while for Gru, it was more of a transition in his life with him wanting to become more independent. Also, by the end of his movie, Gru didn't become 100% evil, well, 100% good. Rather, he started to become, I'd say, a controlled evil, in a way, you could say. And by the continuation of the second movie, he ends up becoming 100% good. So that's how that character functions. So, in conclusion, a character's ideology is just as important as a real person's ideology, when writing a story, especially. Depending on how your story is written, characters should change and grow along with their environment in order to give it a sense of consciousness and real life. That's what we all have as people. See, and even though the films are similar in such a way that both characters are villains, it doesn't mean that they're the same character. Gru is a villain because of choice, while Megamind is a villain because of lack of social standing in any other way. This is something that was all he knew. He was stuck to this position in his life. But both of these characters change in order to save something that they really cared about. And in my opinion, that's a great character ideology. Both of these characters forgot about everybody else's opinions and social standings and just did what they had to do for the greater good. And that's something that I can appreciate in any good type of storytelling. So that's my video essay, and I hope everybody enjoyed.